My name is Elizabeth Fincher. I'm a senior wildlife sciences major in Warnell, and I graduate in December. So, the reason I went to Africa was because I've always had a passion for conservation and wildlife from watching years and years of Animal Planet when it was still about animals, of course. And when I was in high school, my environmental sciences teacher came into class one day and she had a photo album with her from her trip to Africa, which coincidentally was actually the trip that I just took to Africa. So that day, at this point, I had also known that I was going to UGA and going to be a wildlife sciences major in Warnell. And I went home and I told my parents, I'm going to go to Africa. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to go. Although it took 3 years for me to get there, I would do it all over again in a heartbeat just to go back. So I think going to Africa and actually witnessing what you hear about and you kind of see about on the news, it changes everything. It puts everything in perspective. Actually seeing an elephant up close, other than in a zoo, makes you think. How can people kill such a large animal for really no particular reason that makes sense to anyone? And although we didn't get to see a rhino, we did get to see a rhino skull. And the story behind the skull was truly heartbreaking. I also learned that when it comes to tourism, the only thing most people really care about is the picture that they're going to get, unless it's a group of students like we were. For instance, we watched a tour group chase a leopard halfway up a ridge just to get a picture of it killing a springbok. And in the process of chasing it up the ridge, it scared away the adult springbok. So the leopard had to kill the baby springbok, which was half the size, and it was awful. But overall, a life-changing experience. Before this trip, I would have thought progress was just about lessening human impact on the wildlife in Africa. Although I do think this still has a role to play, it should also be about the protection of endangered species. A group of us, while we were in Makuleke, saw two members of the anti-poaching crew scare a breeding herd of elephants away just because they wanted to pass. And that was truly awful. I'm sure Bruce reported them, but it made me think there has to be a way we can protect these rhinos without having to be personally involved. Because the rhino skull that we did see, Bruce said it was an inside job, which makes me think that someone told the poachers about them. So I don't know if technology is the answer. I just know that human involvement needs to be decreased. Before going to Africa, I thought each animal had their own individual needs that needed to be met, and they would each have their own individual conservation plan. While I do still think this, I now also know that elephants are an umbrella species. And as an umbrella species, when elephant conservation is intact, all of the animals underneath the umbrella, their conservation is also taken care of. With a lot of hard work, I do think conservation is possible, but I think it's a little too late for rhinos. So sustainability is all about lessening human impact on the wildlife. When we went to the two lodges, I think that seeing how people live in Africa, they don't really realize what sustainability is about. And I also think that poaching and trophy hunting would need to stop for sustainability to happen. Overall, I think that sustainability is attainable, but education is key at this point. Educating the young kids, and just education needs to happen for sustainability to be possible. Overall, it was a wonderful trip, and I really want to go back. So Lewis, if you need a TA next year, hit me up. I would definitely do it again. Thank you. for taking me.